Let's talk about strategy. Yeah, have you ever had to choose a strategy in terms of your life or your business? And when you pick a strategy, you think that that's the best strategy at the time, but unfortunately, when you apply it, it doesn't go as planned. Well, in this episode, I want to talk to you about why strategies fail in your business and your life and how to do it better. So let's get on with the show. Hey there, it's Lawrence Tam here, your Chiro coach, and I just want to say thank you very much for everybody who watches these Facebook episodes, and also you can check it out on YouTube, and a podcast show called Your Chiro Coach is coming up in your way. So thanks to everybody for liking, commenting, and sharing these episodes. So today we're going to talk about strategies and why strategy is so important and why choosing the wrong strategy can actually be detrimental to your practice. The element is that, here's the thing, we choose strategies and we know we want to be choose the best strategy for our business, and we want to take it to the next level. However, problem is that when you choose the wrong strategy, it actually costs you time because you're wasting time on doing something that you could have done somewhere else. And two, it can cost you money. And that obviously is never a good thing. But more importantly is that if you choose the wrong strategy, it can actually debilitate you because you can go down a path chasing something that you shouldn't be chasing. And this is why I think fundamentally chasing strategy is a really, really bad idea. The problem is that, yes, we all want, actually, I wouldn't say all. For most people, we all want growth, right? We want growth in our life personally, and we all want to grow in our professional life. The challenge, of course, is that we don't necessarily all want the same type of growth. Some people want to double their practice. Some people want a 30% growth. Some people want to have multiple practices all across the country, or some people just want to happy to have a boutique type of practice. So it doesn't really matter what you want, but the thing is that if you start to utilize the strategies for someone who's trying to grow 10 practices to you trying to grow 30%, that's going to be a different strategy. And choosing the wrong strategy can lead you down a path of really wasting your time and energy and effort, and more importantly, it goes down a rabbit hole where you don't want to be. So my suggestion is that strategy isn't the most important thing you need to go after. What you need to kind of think about this is that you need to think, you got to have a plan. You have to have a plan of choosing the right thing first. And so what I mean by that is, I'm going to show you an analogy of what we need to do first, right? The thing is that let's take a look at what we're looking at. Overall is that we have this thing, right? We have all these strategies. So we could have potentially, there's tons of strategies that you can use, right? There's tons of many strategies you can apply and you can utilize in your practice. But you got to be very, very clear before you choose any strategy, all right, when it comes to your practice. You have to be very, very clear on one thing and one thing only. The first thing you need to consider is, what is the objective you're trying to achieve? Right? You have to have an objective. If your objective is to, for example, if your objective is to increase your new patient, it's going to be a very different strategy if your goal is about retention. If you want to increase your, say, referral rate, is very different than trying to build your social media presence in terms of your brand. So all of these are different objectives. Growing 10 practices versus growing 30% is two different specific objectives. So hence, all these strategies in play, there's hundreds and thousands of strategies you can use. But if you don't know, if you're not clear in your objective, there's no point on choosing a strategy to work for someone else in your, in your neighborhood or in your community or another chiropractor. Just because it worked for them, it doesn't necessarily mean it works for you. You got to be very clear in your objective and not their objective, okay? So once you figure out your objective, then you can choose the respective strategy and go, you know what? This strategy right here, that's the one that's for me, and also this one over here. Well, then you can eliminate all the other strategies that don't work for you. So then you can actually just apply that this is what I'm going to go with, and therefore these are the two strategies I'm going to be focusing on, whatever that strategy may be. So for example, if you're trying to gain new patients, for example, you might say this strategy of Facebook marketing may be the one for you, or maybe increasing your referral rate, for example. Those are two specific strategies. Whereas if you're trying to build team culture, putting your time, energy, and money on Facebook marketing isn't going to be your highest priority and the best strategy, and you'll be wasting a lot of time where your team culture starts to be affected. All right, so I know that seems simple, but most of the time we're chasing strategies all the time. We're attending seminars, we're trying to go on YouTube, and we're trying to do all these things trying to copy strategies, but are not really going anywhere. The second thing you need to consider then is actually going after specific tactical things. So there's tons of tactics, right? There's tons of tactics down here, right, that you could choose from to tweak that particular strategy. Each strategy, for example, Facebook, there's tons of tactical things that you can actually change. You can change the image, you can change the copy, you can change, how you apply, what kind of audiences, and so on and so forth. You got to decide on, you only have time for so many things. So which one are you going to choose? So you might decide to go, you know what, this is the one I'm going to choose. This one's I'm going to choose, and this one. So then you might focus on that particular tactical thing that you might manipulate or change so that you can actually improve the strategy to get closer to your objective. So when you start to when you're clear on the objective, then you can actually pick the strategy, then the tactical thing. So here's the thing. What you got to think about when you're making a plan, there's three things you kind of ultimately want to think about. Number one is that you got to think about, first of all, you have to be very clear on your choice, right? What are you choosing? Choosing the right strategy is dependent on the objective you're trying to choose. I mean, we already been talking about that. The second thing you need to do is you got to plan, right? You got to plan inevitably to make sure that the strategy you plan for is going to help you get to where you want to go. And what I mean by that is that think about each strategy will have like these A to Z type of steps, right? And you got to make sure that these steps are going to get you closer to the particular strategy, or the objective you're trying to do. If you don't do the strategy all the way through, it's not going to get you there. But more importantly, you need to have feedback, right? You need to make sure that the feedback at the end is like going to give you and to make the changes to the strategy accordingly. So you got to plan accordingly. You got to plan for these ups and downs of the strategy. What if it didn't work? What if it did work? What happens when things modify? Right now, especially with COVID at the moment, you can't be planning a strategy that is a year or 2 years long. It's too far because we don't know what's above the horizon. We can't even tell what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 months, let alone more than 6 months ahead. So right now, what we're guiding through our clients at Nitro is that we're only working at 6 weeks at a time. We can't be planning anything further than that. Of course, we can think beyond that, but anything beyond 3 months or 4 months is pure speculation. So what I'm suggesting to you is you consider is that you got to shorten the time frame. You got to shorten the time frame of what you want to work with at the moment, because we don't know what we don't know. So therefore we can speculate on what may happen, but if you're going to plan a particular strategy, you want to make sure that you execute it the right way. So how you execute it, you want to make sure you plan according to the time, the environment right now. And right now we're basing on the COVID situation. We want to make sure we plan it in short terms and we can adapt accordingly. The third element here is I want you to consider is that you want to make sure you learn to execute. You want to execute your strategy all the way through, but you got to make sure you plan. So let's talk about how to do that. You got to think about your execution of your strategy, going to go through one step at a time. We already do that, but there's actually a point, right? Then we also plan out what happens when we take off and go for the leap, and we also got to plan what happens when we jump off. The reality is, though, we all get to this point. Most people get to this point when it comes to planning, and then when we actually have to take off and leap, that's when most people stop. And this is where most people don't execute. Everybody has a plan and everybody has a strategy to go, you know what, this is what I'm going to plan to do, and this is my goal. I'm going to shoot a video every single day and get to the point of, I'm going to create this content, and then all of a sudden as you do it and you fail to press go, you fail to press record, and that is the problem with the execution. The execution of the strategy has to go all the way through. You can't just stop 3/4 of the way. You got to go all the way through. And with any strategy, the most important is usually at the end. It's never usually at the beginning. The planning stage is easy, right? The hard part is executing it all the way through. The thing is, what you got to remember is that when you actually do any strategy, when you execute it, this gives you feedback. At this point, it gives you feedback. It's talking about this point here. It provides you feedback when you do the execution of the strategy again. It gives you feedback on whether or not that strategy worked or didn't work. You got to evaluate it and go, can we repeat this? Do we want to repeat the strategy, and will we get it closer to our objective? Because that's ultimately what we got to think about. So this whole episode, I want you to really, really concentrate on. It's clearly, I know we've been talking about strategy, but clearly it has everything to do with the objective itself. When you're not clear on your objective of what you're trying to achieve, there's no point in picking a strategy. So don't be going chasing after a strategy, because that will never get you to where you want to go. Be very clear for yourself is, what is the objective that I'm trying to achieve right now? If you want to I'm talking about strategy of the objective of what you're trying to achieve, maybe in this next quarter or the next 90 days or the next 6 weeks or whatever that is. Be very clear specifically what you're trying to achieve. Then you can choose a strategy that's going to get you there. there, and let the objective guide you. Let that be your North Star to make sure you choose correctly. Don't just choose a strategy just because someone, or even like myself, tell you that this is a good strategy and go and do it, because it may not apply to you. I have tons of clients. Some of them are growing like they need to go 2 times. They want trying to go, 2 times, 2x their practices. Some of them don't want to grow at all because they've already reached their maximum. What they want to do, in fact, is actually build a better practice to a freedom practice, which is more about decreasing the amount of time. I have half my clients really already reached their profit goals, but what they want to do is actually create freedom. So they're trying to work less and still be able to earn the same amount of profit or more. If that's your goal, it's going to be a very, very different strategy than trying to grow 30% or 2x that amount. So be very clear. Please don't follow everybody else's strategies. Don't be copying everybody else. What you got to do is focus on what do you want to achieve. So the question I want to leave you here is this. You have 4 months at the end of the year, okay? Who are you going to become, and what are you trying to do by the end of 2020, right? What's the one goal that you're trying to achieve in 2020? What's your objective? How do you want to end off this year? I know this year's been crap. I know it's been a struggle for most people. It's just a weird time, not financially necessary, but just like it's just a weird 2020. But you have 4 months. What are you going to do with that time? What are you going to do? Are you going to focus on, building a brand? Are you going to focus on trying to become a better person, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? Are you going to try to grow your business? Are you trying to consolidate? Are you trying to build a better business, a more referral type of based business? Are you trying to buy more time? Are you trying to build a better team? Maybe have a better culture, maybe have better systems. I don't know what your goal is, but you got to be clear. Once you're clear on what that is, then choose the right strategy to help you get there faster. Stop wasting your time and copying everybody else's strategy. Start focusing on you. So I hope that's been helpful to you. Like I said, you can watch these videos on YouTube, on Facebook, and I love your feedback and likes and comments. It would just help the algorithms and everything else. But also too, I'm releasing these episodes onto a podcast soon called Your Chiro Coach. So I hope that you support that and tell everybody about this and share this with other people that you feel will get benefits, because my goal is to help you inspire, to help you get to the next stage of wherever you need to be. But more importantly, also too, the Academy is running. We're on the 9th session now as of tomorrow. So please join us there. It's free. So go to lawrencetam.com/academy. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next episode.
It's all well and good to have a successful practice, but in the grand scheme of things, I want to make an impact.
The biggest thing that it's enabled me to do is to develop better relationships with people.
The reason I joined was because I was feeling a bit isolated in practice.
Now I feel like I have a tribe.
Lawrence definitely provides a really good insight from outside of my square.
You really start to find your true identity. When you're part of a group that supports you, which is what I feel Nitro does, you get some quality results.
I was caught up in the hustle side of chiropractic. So now having that freedom, still being just as busy and even more successful.
I think that we all elevate and rise together.
It really allows me to face my own fears and blockages. It's about being with like-minded people, but being about people who want the same thing, which is like this willingness to support each other and hold each other accountable at the same time.
We went from seeing an average of 140, 150 people to seeing now 250 people.
I do have the confidence to have that voice and make those changes, and I definitely wouldn't have been able to do that without Nitro.
It's not trying to create me to be something else. It's trying to create me to be the best version of me.